This is episode 5 of Pucks, Putts, and Properties. He's Danny Taylor. I'm Mark Strachan. And we also have an amazing guest, Meighen Hodgen from Diamond Fitness MMA in Napanee coming on today. So be sure to stay tuned at the end of the podcast for Meighen Hodgen from Diamond Fitness. Danny's got Izzy on his lap. What type of dog is that, Danny?
It's a cockapoo. And normally, I've never been a little dog fan. Like I've always had big dog. But this little thing doesn't bark, doesn't really say anything, just cuddles all day.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how old is she?
She's 2 years old.
Nice.
Yeah, but she's she's a little dog, but like with a big dog kind of like mentality, just lazy and cuddly, and it's awesome. Yeah. So what's going on, Mark?
Are you a dog guy exclusively, or do you dabble with cats too?
I do like cats.
Okay.
Not all cats. I had playing away in Guelph. They had this one cat, and every time I walked by it, it would scratch up my legs.
Mm-hmm.
It just hated me, and I never. And I've been petrified at some of these cats. Ever since.
So I don't like cats, and the funniest thing is when you don't try to give them attention, they gravitate to you. So I find that cats often will be all over me because they know I don't care about them.
Maybe that's the trick, right?
Yeah. So try not to pretend like you're not interested in them at all, and they'll probably come to you. So I'm more of a dog guy. Funny thing is, my wife's a cat person. I'm a dog person. We had this discussion very early when we got together. It's like, okay, what kind of pets do you like? Well, I like bigger dogs. She was like, well, I like cats. I said, okay, so no pets. And we have this, we jokingly have this thing now, is if one of us is gonna, if we're gonna get divorced, and it's totally a joke, by the way, but she'll come home to a box of kittens. And if I come home and she's not there, but there's a Labrador dog or something, I'm like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I have a dog now, but I don't have a wife anymore. So it's we're totally joking when we talk about this stuff, but yeah. So what's going on in your life?
Yeah, just more hockey and real estate. We can talk about the market a little bit. I find
it's really unchanged since our last podcast, though. So I don't know that we really need to get into that. One big change this week in our within our local board is that we've jumped onto a new platform called Realm. We were on Matrix, and this is a big change for all real estate agents. Really in Ontario, we've adopted the Realm platform. So we're all on one platform now, which is great. But, anytime you make a big change like that in something that so we learned Matrix and now we're shifting over to Realm. It's like starting almost from scratch again. How have you been handling it?
I don't think people understand how big of a change that is for realtors on the back end things. Because when you want to search something and want to learn something, you know where to go. It's kind of like you're almost changing cars. But the car, the steering wheel is in the back seat, and there's pedals over here where they should be here. It's very, very difficult to change. But obviously, it's just you got to take some time. You got to put some hours and hours of effort. But now there's some really cool features in there that we were going through today. One is different pockets on how much turnover there is in that year and how many houses that have sold in different pockets of Kingston. I thought that was really cool. The other part too is school districts. So they'll have different school districts. So if you have this one area that you want to stay in and want to make sure that your kid stays in the school, well, we can do that now. We can narrow that search. So I thought that's really cool. And then obviously it gives you, and this is just for realtors, that you can go on Geo Warehouse really quick. From our front end system with Realm. So it's going to be good in the long run, but people don't realize that's not in it every day, that it's a big transition for us realtors.
For sure. And just with anything, when you learn the previous way of doing it, the switchover is difficult, but I understand why we need to progress. And if we get stale with the tools that we're using, any tool that we're using, if it becomes stale, we're not as effective. So
sure.
I'm all for growth. It's just the growing pains that suck sometimes.
For sure. And now we have access to all the Toronto stuff. And obviously that people that were on everything from pretty much like Napanee, you were on the Quinny board, you had access to all the Toronto stuff. And then you'd have to find a realtor friend in Kingston to maybe send you some stuff from Kingston. So now we've all joined, and we can see who have all the access from Ottawa, Toronto on the back end things. And again, most people won't know what that is, but it just makes it a lot easier when you're searching for properties, because obviously we do go out to, Napanee and Belleville sometimes, and we need to know the market there. And it's been a bit of a challenge here over the last couple of years, just not only scheduling showings because you had to call the realtor up right away, or just trying to get the back end information on wells and septics and whatnot. So good thing, but it's going to take some time to learn the new car.
Yeah, exactly. You brought this up on the last podcast, NHL Faceoff.
Oh yeah. It's
on
Prime. Have you seen it?
So I have watched it now. Oh my goodness, is this I hate to say this, but that was way better than watching an actual hockey game.
Oh, way better.
If anyone who's listening to this and hasn't watched it yet, and even if you're mildly interested in hockey, even if you're not interested in hockey, go and watch it, because it's every bit as good of the F1 documentary that came out, Drive to Survive.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't watch F1 at all. My wife started watching this F1 series, and now we're into the races. We know the drivers. I think this is the same thing in the NHL that's been done. You get to know the players on a crazy level, the access that they've been given. You've got a camera right in the locker room after a Game 7 loss in the Stanley Cup final, and you get to see Connor McDavid's true emotions coming out. That just blew me away. Wow, the access that was given for this thing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It kind of makes you like the players more, right? On a personal
100%.
When you see how invested these players are, it is everything to them. And of course, you're making lots of money, but you don't think that Connor gives two shits about making a lot of money. He just wants to win so bad. And I think people really enjoyed watching that. I know I did. I hope next year they make it 10 episodes. There's only 6. It would be nice if they can almost lead up with the regular season, and they cover a few more teams. Not everybody's going to like a camera, though. I will say there's some parts of a dressing room that are very, very sacred. I hope that they do a really good job from the producer standpoint to say, or from the player standpoint to say, hey, can you cut this out? This player is a very private person. He doesn't want, this footage and video coming out. I hope they have those discussions so the players feel comfortable what's being shown, because you need to keep that sacrecy. Did I just make up a word? Sacrecy?
Sure. Secrecy. Yeah.
Well, the
sacredcy. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
In the locker room, that has to be kept 100%. But I hope that, they do it again, because that was an awesome show. It really was.
What sort of hoops do you think they had to jump through to get those cameras where they were?
You know what? The NHL gives them permission to be there. I believe so. But there's certain, was it McDavid when he snapped after game 2
when they pulled the curtain back when he was lighting the team up. Yeah.
And that's
there is no tomorrow. We have to play now.
Yeah, but I'm glad that the camera was there. And if it's one of those, nobody knew that McDavid was going to do that. So that's a time that you shouldn't be there. Because that goes on a lot more than people think. And other players calling out other players for poor performance or not trying hard enough. That goes on a lot, especially more so in the playoffs. But I'm glad that they caught that. I think it's wicked.
Incredible.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird one for you that I've always wondered if we could ever do. Do you ever think that we could have the players mic'd up live?
They do
on
that.
the ice, or mics that are but have two feeds. Have the alternate feed that everything gets aired, that you can hear everything and it's all out there. Do you think the players would ever go for that, or is there
No.
stuff that's said
No.
sometimes that they would
There's stuff that
absolutely
said
be
that,
canceled?
yeah, you'd be
Yeah.
canceled, they'd be in trouble for
Okay.
it. Yeah. Like, I know some refs are mic'd up, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
you have
Me personally, I would absolutely love that sort of access live. Like if you
live.
could
Oh,
like, oh, not even have announcers and just hear everything that's happening at ice level, and really in all sports, in baseball and in everything, that you have full access to hearing everything that's going on the field.
yeah, I don't think that'd be good for the game. Like, I think there's a
No.
certain amount
Okay.
of,
All
like,
right.
privacy and, like, trash talk,
Yeah.
like the game
Okay.
within the game at ice level, that fans don't see, but players know that you need to keep that, because that's a huge part of the game.
Okay. So
Is
it's really just a pipe dream of mine.
Yeah, but you know what? There could be, like, I'm sure, yeah. Even when guys are mic'd up for certain games, a lot of other, like, what will sometimes happen is one of the guys from, say, Boston, say Marchand's getting mic'd up.
Hey,
Well,
I'm mic'd up tonight.
yeah, so, like, he's gonna have a friend on the other team, or and say, "Hey, like, just so you know, I'm mic'd up tonight. Just be careful what you say around me." Like,
Yeah.
that goes on all the time. So,
Yeah.
yeah, players just have to be careful sometimes what they say, especially more than ever, right? So, yeah.
The other documentary that I
Yeah,
recently watched was on Netflix. It was the Red Sox in their rivalry with the New York Yankees, and the breaking of the curse of the Bambino. Do
yeah,
you
we
know what
talked
that
about this.
is?
No, I don't. Please explain it
Okay.
to in
So
layman's
the
terms.
Red Sox, when they traded Babe Ruth, I want to say it's like in the 1920s, 1930s, somewhere in the early or 1900s, they traded Babe Ruth to the Yankees, and Babe Ruth went on to be one of the all-time greatest players in baseball history. Since they traded him, they had not won a World Series until, and this documentary follows it. So they are tracking the two different styles of play between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. So the New York Yankees historically are prim and proper. They're allowed to grow mustaches, but not facial hair. They're not allowed long hair. So it's almost militarized, the New York Yankee approach to playing baseball. The Boston Red Sox were the total opposite of that. They jumped on this slogan of cowboy up, and they were loose, playing, like having a lot of fun while playing. They were doing shots of like Crown Royal before a playoff game in the locker room, just having an awesome time together. They, after winning one of the games, they, in their spikes, walked across the street to the bar and hung out with the fans until the
That's
bus had to
unreal.
go. Oh my goodness. Like, they were cowboys. They really were cowboys. And this thing captured it so perfectly. I loved it. But they go on to, so they're down 3-0 to the Yankees in, I want to say, the divisional series, or the divisional series. So they come back and win, and it's the only time in Major League Baseball history that a team has come back down from being 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw the Yankees down 3-0 this year, but they come back and win, and eventually went on to win the World Series and break the curse. So this is what that documentary follows.
Talk about the bloody ankle, or the bloody ankle with the
Oh,
pitcher.
Curt Schilling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this documentary, it talks about Curt Schilling has a completely torn Achilles tendon. So the thing is just dangling. It's totally loose. He can't walk. The doctor does surgery on a cadaver and comes up with this plan to stitch the Achilles tendon back to, like, not back together, but to some flesh within his ankle so he can get back on the field. And his ankle's bleeding. He goes out and makes a start and pitches unbelievably, like just a all-time performance on completely ruptured Achilles tendon. Just wild.
Yeah.
You must have seen some of these things in your time, guys playing absolutely banged up and hurt through playoff series.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, is there anything that stands out and you're like, this guy is just an animal?
There was a lot in the OHL because my first year in the OHL, we ended up winning the OHL championship. And there was a lot of guys that had shoulders and hips and knees. Like it's a 2-month grind. And I remember we stopped practicing after round 2. So a lot of these guys didn't practice. They just played games.
Ice.
It was just games because they couldn't muster up anything for any kind of practice or anything. So yeah, I remember just going through the grind of that. Guys playing through things. I think Matthew Tkachuk was probably the most that I heard. He had a broken sternum, and he played through that as long as he could. Obviously you're never going to be fully healthy. Like I remember feeling 100% happen probably 2 games a year, 3 games, maybe. So like
Right.
you're always going to be, there's always going to be something, and players just kind of have to use it, but you learn how to play through it. But nothing notable that I can think of. But that's a documentary that you see on Netflix. I think it's like number 4 in Canada right now. So
it's so good. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about World Series.
Yeah, so the World Series is over now. As I mentioned, the Yankees went down 3-0, and they did win the 4th game. And then the 5th game went to the Dodgers. So the Dodgers are the World Series champion. And one thing that came out in the broadcast that I kind of balked at initially and then looked at the stats on it is they said that baseball is probably one of the harder, if not the hardest sports to come back from an 0-3 deficit. And I originally thought to myself, like, how could that be true? But it has only happened in Major League Baseball one time, and that is the 2004 American League Championship Series that Boston came back and beat the Yankees in. In hockey, it's happened 4 or 5 times, and in the NBA, it's happened a handful of times also. So, even though my feelings on it initially were like, that can't be true. It's the same in all sports, you would think, but the stats do back it up that in baseball, it's harder to come back from. And the Yankees weren't able to do it this time, of course. But there's a couple cool things. Freddie Freeman, Canadian, was the MVP of the series. So we've got a Canadian MVP, and he was a stud, just hitting absolute nukes at opportune times, that walk-offs or to give the Dodgers a sizable lead in some of these games. So he was awesome.
Yeah, I think no bigger moment than the game 1 when he won the walk-off home run there to win game 1. And winning the first game of any series is huge, but to do it in that fashion in overtime, in overtime, they call that extra innings in baseball. So that's awesome. Canadian, like, couldn't be more proud of Canadian getting the job done. And for Ohtani, like, what a season for him.
Ohtani and Judge were pretty quiet in the series, actually. I feel in baseball that, those star players are pitched around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like you just work around them because they are so good. So, and Ohtani was hurt as well. So, but you still pitch around those guys. Like Ohtani had one of the best seasons ever. His stats versus Babe Ruth's stats are actually really close, because Babe Ruth was a two-way player. Also, he pitched and was a batter, and their stats actually line up pretty close,
right?
Which is crazy in this day and age that we could have a pitcher that also is an incredible batter. Like that, you don't see that. It's so rare. And Ohtani, he's special, man. I really like Judge. I'm a big Judge guy, but Ohtani, is something different.
Do you think you will see more of that now with Ohtani coming out with a season where he does?
I don't know. It's tough. Like, usually pitchers specialize in pitching, right? I think it takes a special talent to even consider it.
Gotcha. You got to have the build and the athleticism, right? Like it's not even God-given, you think? You don't think it can be coached?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just, it is. I think we should just celebrate how unique and how amazing it is to be alive to see an athlete like that do what he's doing. The other crazy one was Mookie Betts facing a fly ball, and he got carried into the stands down the right field line, and he caught it as he was getting up into the crowd, and these fans tried to rip his glove right off his hand. They eventually got the ball out of his glove after he'd caught it. So it was an out. Like the official was right there able to call it. But the fans ripped the ball out of his glove. It was a crazy scene. Did you see that replay at all?
I didn't know, but I heard about it on the radio, like just how crazy that is. And the fact that people are still doing that, like just let the players play. Well, like they saw the one with the Chicago Cubs too, right? Like
Mookie Betts is. Oh, you're talking about Bartman.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that got outrageous. Mookie Betts is an LA right fielder, and this was in New York. So apparently, the two guys there are season ticket holders.
Okay.
So just diehard fans trying to have their moment and influence the game.
But like also probably to sell that stuff off. No, like they would make a killing if they got it. Or do you think they even get out of the building alive? Right, with that.
Well, they were in New York, so the New York fans probably loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on to golf. Let's talk about this new 3D.
Yeah, so TGL, it's this really neat league that's I'm hoping it's neat. We're really going to have to see how this plays out because it's so different. It's basically stadium golf. And now you're thinking, how the heck can you play golf in a stadium? So it's simulator golf to a point. So you hit the players. Well, there's 6 teams, and they represent a city now. So they're true teams, like from a location, right? Team golf in a stadium. They're hitting shots into essentially a simulator, but it's a massive screen. I don't know how huge.
So when you say stadium golf, would that be like a baseball stadium or a football stadium?
They might be making it exclusively for this. I don't know the location of it yet, but
wow.
Like, because Danny, they're also, so the full shots are being hit basically into a massive simulator in the stadium. So the ball goes out on this screen and the whole stadium gets to track the ball's flight on the screen. But the short game shots are hit live. So the short game shots are set up with, I think it was the size of 6 different basketball courts. So you've got a lot of area to use for these short game shots. But the beauty of it is based on the hole that they're playing, the contours change. So you're not putting you're putting in the same areas a lot of the times, but the contours of the greens are going to change based on the hole design.
That's crazy.
So it's all virtually done.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have to see how this thing plays out.
I'd love to see how the ball reacts on something like that with an undulating.
So I'm thinking they probably have it all figured out. Like the players have probably already tested it to see that the ball is reacting. Like, obviously you wouldn't want a golf ball hitting a stadium concrete floor. So I'm thinking they've probably built these things to be very, very realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the concept. Can you imagine, like, it's like a full-blown stadium and then you're getting roars and like almost try to replicate some what was it the Ryder Cup? How good it was with like you had all these fans in there and it was so loud and the partners were chest bumping and everything.
Yeah, and one of the things that's difficult, I actually went to the Masters this past spring. One of the things that's difficult about being live watching professional golf is you only get to see what's happening in front of you, right? So what this is going to do now for the live events is you get to see everything that's happening. Like it's not like you have to walk over 3 fairways over to go see what's happening over there, right? So everything's happening in one central area. And I think that's why the tournament in Phoenix, you know, that party alley?
Yeah, everybody knows that one. Yeah.
On the par 3 there.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's really popular, because that's just where everyone wants to be. That's where the action is, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if we can create that in a golf atmosphere in one central area, you get to see everything that's happening. So I really hope it works out, but it'll be interesting to see. Like, this is really, really game changing for the PGA Tour.
Yeah, no, I would it be exclusively only for the PGA Tour players or live golf players too?
I think it's exclusively to the PGA Tour right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I mean, they're set to have a merger, right?
Right. So live golf players, they could always play in the majors, right?
If they're qualified, yeah, they do get into the majors.
Okay. Yeah.
So but it'll be really interesting to see what's happening with golf the next year or two.
Yeah.
With they're set to have a deal that merges the tours,
right?
Or at least have the live guys still have access to the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
So the two ownership groups are working together now to have.
That's good. They should have a best on best, right, kind of format, and just it's always good to see. And then I guess moving into that with hockey, best on best. It's funny, we talked about Canada's goalies, and it's been brought up in many and Spit and Chicklets and 32 Thoughts.
And the captains too. We were first, by the way.
Yeah, we were first talking about Canada's goalies. But nobody's got a clear answer for Canada. Nobody's got a clear answer for Canada's goalies.
Because there isn't one.
Yeah.
Although I do think it's probably Crosby for the captain.
Yes.
What have you been hearing out of the captain chatter?
McDavid came out and said that Crosby should be captain.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any dispute there. So so he's been the GOAT here for the last 18 years now, 20 years almost coming up in the NHL. So no dispute there. But Canada's goalies, I think it was Binnington, somebody was saying. I'm like, really? Binnington?
I brought it up to you. I kind of thought that he'd still be in the discussion.
Yeah, Binnington's there, but I'm like, when you compare him to like Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, even like Hellebuck, like it's not even close right now. But
it is not even close. I honestly
need is a good game, right? Like almost you need him not to lose the game as opposed to win the game, which is a very different mindset. You just can't give up the stinkers. But I do like the way that Stolarz is looking. The big one from the Leafs. These new acquisitions. So it'll be a fun time to be a fan of hockey there in February. But I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Yeah, and we have a great guest on today, Meighen Hodgen from Diamond Fitness MMA in Napanee, and we had a great interview with her today, and we'll throw it over to that. He's Danny Taylor. I'm Mark Strand. Century 21 Heritage Group is our brokerage. Over to Meighen Hodgen. Super excited to welcome Meighen Hodgen from Diamond Fitness MMA. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Tell us briefly about your business. What could people expect when visiting Diamond Fitness MMA?
Yeah, so we're located in Napanee, Ontario, and we're at the community center. It's great there with 2 ice pads, nice green spaces, soccer fields, community hall. So there we have a family-based gym where we offer martial arts and fitness to both kids starting at age 5 all the way up to as old as they want. So we have 88-year-olds coming to the gym. We have adults, middle-aged. So it's a nice wide range of programs and activities for all ages.
Nice. So starting out, what inspired you to open this business, and what were some of the defining moments or experiences that push you towards this path?
Yeah, so growing up in Napanee, I found that it was a niche market that had been untapped within the community. So I went to school in Waterloo, went there for 4 years, and then came back. I wasn't really sure where my life was going at that time. Loved sports, grew up doing sports my whole life. I was a varsity athlete and then was training the football team up at Waterloo for a season and a half. And so sports has always been in my life, and really wanting to help the community and seeing that there was nothing much in Napanee to do, I'm like, well, let's find something to do, and that kind of built on creating Diamond at the beginning, and then it's just obviously grown from there. But that was the starting point, and really just getting off the ground.
Yeah, nice. Well, you don't see any really MMA gyms, whether it's in Kingston or Napanee. Can you tell us like how that's kind of grown within the within the community, and maybe talk about some of the athletes that have come through your gym and kind of what they've been doing now?
Yeah, so when I thought about starting a martial arts gym back 9 years ago, I said I can just envision like martial arts gyms as grungy, blood stains on the wall, like Fight Club. And I'm like, I do not want that for my vision or for my gym. So as I start building and creating this family and community environment, but also having the athletes and having athletes being able to perform in martial arts, but also using it as a cross-training tool for other athletes and other disciplines and sports that they might do. So it was, yeah, it's kind of an interesting piece of kind of creating the space where it's safe for everyone, but also the competitive side of having our athletes. We have amateur mixed martial artists. We have competitors going almost every month to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. And then, like I said, we have a lot of cross athletes who do cross training at the gym, whether that be figure skating, hockey, baseball, snowboarding, curling. Like we have a lot of diverse clients in that way, and just getting a different edge or building up different skills that they want to better themselves, better performance, better athletic abilities, so on and so forth.
That's awesome. And do you have obviously you yourself as a personal trainer, and do you have other trainers there with you to kind of help diversify that kind of training? And do you find it catering to specific sports is a challenge, or is it kind of if you can build an athlete, they'll be good at that sport kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's kind of a multi-part question, but
Yeah.
the starting off with the coaches. So I went to school for kinesiology. I have another coach who went to school for kinesiology. Then all of my other coaches are specialists within the martial arts. So we've got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He trained around the world in Muay Thai as well. And then we're also building our coaches as our team is growing. So we have that aspect of having a diverse range of coaches. So if someone wanted, for example, I had someone asking, oh, I want my son to increase their cardio and endurance for hockey. Which program would be best for them? And then we'll put them in the Muay Thai program or the boxing program because it's higher cardio based. Or we'll get another athlete who just wants to learn jiu-jitsu and be competitive in jiu-jitsu. So they're starting within that program. Or we have very sports specific clients that we do one-on-one training, or very sports specific. So I get clients one-on-one, and so does the other kinesiologist who is like, hey, I want to improve my son's pitching speed in baseball, or I need to work on flexibility because we've got some imbalances. So we have about 10 coaches right now, which is another part of my job to manage those coaches. But we have such a diverse playing field with coaches that we can really diversify and like help and really customize programs for people and what their needs are.
Nice. Yeah.
So one of the big things I admire about you is in all aspects of life, but definitely with your business, you're always looking for the next. Like you're never satisfied with where you are. You want continual growth. What do you think about your upbringing or your background has kind of led you to this point where you're like we were talking about podcasts the other day. You're looking at starting a podcast, and I'll be happy to promote that one once you're there, but you're always looking for the next. How can I get better? How can I do more? What do you think shaped that?
There's a couple things that shaped it. One being creating that customer experience, which I think has really been embedded within my childhood, with my parents being entrepreneurs, my mom being very successful in the healthcare industry. Um, so my upbringing and being so competitive in sports is always, it's not like a competition, but it's kind of always like, how can I strive to do better? You do that as an athlete, or I did as an athlete, a competitive athlete. You're like, hey, what can I do to do better? Once I quit and retired from figure skating, because that was my main sport, I kind of thought, okay, what's next? You always have that competitive edge, and I think that people are very, like, they're brought up through that. So that's kind of where I've always got that competitive edge, and okay, what do I want to do next? I also am the kind of person that doesn't like to be stale. So I like to, okay, what can I do next to keep things moving, upgrading, giving my clients the best experience, always just keeping things fresh in my mind so that I don't get bored, that we're 10 years in, and I think if I did the same thing every day for 10 years, I would have quit by now.
Yeah.
Just need to keep things moving.
Yeah. Some of the things I've seen in training, especially like getting out of hockey here probably 2 years ago, but there's a lot more information, a lot more emphasis on nutrition, sleep, and then cold tubs. Can you talk a little bit about, those three and how it's kind of changing here over, the course of the last 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think that it's really, I think the sleep and nutrition and cold plunge is really the sleep and nutrition is not an old idea, but people tend to forget about it, especially young athletes and parents.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and that's what I like to specialize in too with my clients. It's not just the athletic base, but if you have an athletic base but you're feeding your body junk, then you're going to perform that way. So I think with the nutrition piece and the sleep piece, especially for kids, and I find that kids are getting less sleep now than they have when, say, even 10 years ago, whether that be the screens, whether that be not structure at home. I'm not really sure what that is, but it's educating, one, if you have a team, whether, so with our teams, I try to educate them not just on the fitness and training aspect of it, but like on a well-rounded individual. And then from that point of view, I feel like the kids who are going to be are successful in sports may not go to the Olympics or make the NHL, but those habits and learning experiences that they take out of sports will then lead them to a successful career in the future. And that goes along with sleep and nutrition. If they have a good sleep habits when they're younger, well, that's going to translate into adulthood. Same with nutrition. If you're going to eat junk, well, it's going to be harder to change those habits. So that's kind of the piece on the nutrition and sleep. We could do a whole podcast on nutrition, and I would be happy to talk about nutrition performance in athletes, but that would be another time. Yeah. And then in terms of cold tubs, again, not a new thing, but again, it's kind of being trendy right now. I personally haven't looked at the research, and I don't like to make comments or suggestions if I'm not really up with the research. So I'm not going to comment too much on it, but it's the recovery. How do we reduce recovery? How do we reduce inflammation? And obviously ice and cold therapy helps. And then it may be a combination of cold and heat. So that's kind of my input on that.
You really do have a diverse clientele there, though. So I don't want to focus strictly on you're elite athletes, and that's really awesome to talk about. But you're also a really healthy atmosphere for everyone to get involved there. Can you give us sort of what a client could expect when they walk into your gym? They might be feeling overwhelmed, out of shape. How does your team help start them, a person in sort of that stage of life also?
Yeah, it's a great question. And a lot of times right now, we're finding that people are scared to come to the gym, not just my gym in particular, but like if you're out of shape and you haven't done exercise in so long, people are intimidated by gyms. They're scared. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't know where to start. So what we try to provide is that welcoming, open environment. Very much, like I said, we're very family oriented. We have a lot of couples and kids and parents training, not in the same class, but at the same time. So a person, and also we put the client into a certain program that would be best for them. I'm not going to throw a middle-aged mom into a class where there's teenage boys. Like I very much like delegate and think about, okay, which class would this male or female and what age would they be best in and what would they suit. So we offer about, I don't even know, probably 20 plus classes a week, whether that be martial arts or fitness. And we have something for everyone, whether that's personal training, whether that's kids programs, whether that's beginner programs, older adults, competitive athletes. Like we do have a diverse, I think it's martial arts for everyone, and that's kind of what our motto is and what we like to say and do for everyone.
Yeah. I always have questions for people that run a gym. How do you get the motivation to work out when you're at the gym all day? Because sometimes it's the last thing you want to do, right? Is you've been at the gym all day and then you have to get your workout in. So are you a morning person? Do you get it in at 4 or 5 in the morning and then start your day, or
yeah, that's honestly, Danny, that is probably my biggest struggle. And for most gym owners, I do think that's there. So what I do is I focus actually mostly on running. So running right now is my go-to. I can get away from the gym, so I'm not going on the treadmill. I'm actually stepping away from the gym. Then I probably only lift weights 2 to 3 times per week, and that's either late morning or early afternoon. So I kind of get a break in my day, and so I kind of fill that in, or I'll run after classes at night. But now it's getting darker, so I'm doing my runs in the afternoons versus in the evenings.
Are you finding it a little bit easier if you have a train with a group, or are you kind of a solo?
I'm a solo. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like I don't mind if someone's there, someone wants to work out with me, like I'm always open to it, but it's scheduling. It's like, okay, I have about 20 minutes, like let's get a quick strength workout in, or I can go on a 20-minute run, like I gotta go now. Or there's just not going to be any time left in the day.
Yeah.
But you have to carve that out for yourself because you can easily not do that.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that really leads into my next question. And I know you actually have real estate agent clients at your gym. How, like, professions like Danny and our eyes, we get busy throughout the day. Danny's got a busy family life. There's all sorts of stuff going on. What's your biggest suggestion for busy people to prioritize their personal fitness in their life?
What I tell clients is, and I tell myself this, is that time blocking and time chunking. So where within your week, I'm sure you guys schedule your week. So I always say, okay, write in when you're going to be working out and make that true to you as a meeting for yourself. If it needs to be at 4 a.m. because there's no time, then it needs to be at 4 a.m. But really scheduling that time for yourself and time blocking and time chunking is super important. And then also nutrition. So the nutrition piece is super important because no one, as a business owner, you can't afford to be sick. When you're sick, you can't work and you're not getting paid when you're not working. So I find that nutrition is huge in making sure that you're getting the vitamin D, protein, and fruits and vegetables, and then minimizing, like, if you're eating out, because I know real estate agents, I think you guys eat out a little bit, just a little bit. So again, making healthy choices. I know a lot of real estate agents who do eat out. Maybe that's you, maybe that's not, but making those wise choices when you're eating out. You're going out on the fly, like, hey, what are my healthier options? Because you don't have time. You either don't have time to meal prep, or it's the last thing on your to-do list. So it just doesn't happen. So you're going through the drive-through or having a lunch date with somebody, a client. So
yeah, not to get too much into nutrition, because I do think that could be a whole other episode, but can you speak about maybe the importance of intermittent fasting and how important it is to obviously not to eat too late at night and try to almost postpone the breakfast, and what that does for the body?
yeah, so intermittent fasting is not for everyone, but what I say is that most people, if you stop eating, I recommend clients to stop eating after 6. Now, this doesn't include if they're a shift worker. This doesn't include, obviously, if they're pregnant or have some sort of physical condition. But eating after 6, if you stop eating after 6, that will drastically reduce your weight or maintain your weight, because people tend to go for the chip drawers at night, tend to be snacking. They're bored, or they're maybe just thirsty, but they need to fill that void. So they're eating constantly at night. 6 p.m. is just a guideline. I just say once you eat dinner, stop eating after dinner, and try not to eat dinner past 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then when you're waking up in the morning, so depends. So say you wake up at 6 a.m., you can push eating, I would say, for 2 hours. And then really you've already fasted for 12. Because if you stop eating at 6, if you stop eating at 6 p.m., you wake up at 6 and then don't eat till 8, that's 12 to 14 hours that you just fasted.
Yeah.
Without even really knowing that you're fasting.
100%. So just stopping eating at 6, and even if you ate your breakfast at 9 or 10, like even that would probably be a huge help for people, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot about, people talk a lot about the calorie deficit and saying that you need less calories. And I 100% agree with that. And again, this could be a whole different podcast that could go on for a while. But the problem that people are having is that their metabolism is so weak or so slow that what happens is that your body gets tricked because it's so slow. So let me explain this a little bit more. Say you only eat once a day, and again, some people who eat once a day, it works for them, they've lost a lot of weight. But say they stopped eating once a day and went back to their normal routine and lifestyle, they're probably going to gain a lot of weight back. And that's where we get the yo-yo dieting, or they gain a lot extra. So say you only eat one meal a day, your body gets used to that. Eating one meal a day is not enough for your body to function. So you need a certain amount of calories per day for your body to do basic needs. So what it does is your body tricks itself, but it basically says, you're only eating once a day. I need to store that as fat because I don't know when you're going to feed me again, and you're not giving me enough calories. So what happens is that when people eat food, the body's not burning it and they're just storing it as fat. Obviously, if you're not eating enough calories, you're going to lose the weight. But when you start increasing your caloric intake or eating more, your body is now saying, oh, you're giving me more food, so I'm going to keep storing it as fat because I still don't know when you're going to feed me again. And that's when people create this massive weight gain, because their body's like, okay, now you're feeding me, now I'm going to store it as fat. Then you have to reverse that and then change the way your body is and fixing your metabolism, because your metabolism has gone so slow. And actually, by speeding up your metabolism, you actually need to eat more. Eat more food, smaller amounts throughout the day. along with drinking water. So when I trained for my fitness shows, when I was doing my bodybuilding fitness shows, I was eating 5 to 6 times per day. But it was the quantity and the quality of food that I was eating to have a percent body fat lower than 10.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. That's good piece of advice too, going forward.
So there's there's a lot of different opinions on the intermittent fasting, but we have to really speed up our metabolism. And how do we speed up our metabolism? Eating more food, smaller amounts, high protein, reduced sugars, sleeping, because our body needs rest. So those types of those small habits are really helpful. And I have to educate clients when they have this hard time thinking, so you want me to eat more and I'll start to lose weight? I said, yes, because I have to fix their metabolism first. And if their metabolism is not fixed, then it's going to be very, very hard for them to lose the weight and keep it off.
Yeah, big time.
That's the key, is keeping it off, not gaining it back. Yeah. So we could go on about this for a while.
I know. let's talk about Diamond Fitness. Can you talk about your kind of goals and what the future looks like for yourself in the gym?
Yeah, so we're celebrating our 10 years next year, which is crazy. Crazy. And I love to maintain the gym where it is. I'd like it to grow maybe a little bit more. And then working on extra projects. So the extra projects being maybe starting a podcast like you guys have. I think that's great. I think that I have a lot of education and knowledge to share to people. And a podcast is a great way to go. And then also getting into the nutrition piece of, I'm actually working on a recipe ebook right now. I'm in the editing phase. So that will be done hopefully by the beginning of the year next year to be launched. And then just growing my team so that that things are operating like streamlined and as they are now, but just always elevating the program. How can we get new people in it? Napanee has a population of 16,000, I think. So there's a lot of untapped market there, and I think that people are slowly understanding that fitness and health and exercise and nutrition is important in their life, but they have to make that decision on their own to step into the gym or make that step towards being a healthier version of themselves. I can only do so much for them. They got to walk in the door.
Yeah. And that's why I was wanting the nutrition part, because as you know better than anybody, like there's only so much you can do at the gym, right? A lot of the training comes from sleeping and eating properly. So I'm glad.
And that's the education piece that I provide. So people aren't just coming to a gym to get a workout or learn martial arts. They're getting that full health and wellness experience, and not even for an extra charge. Like that's just part of it. Yes, if they want a meal plan, I'll charge them for a customized meal plan, but just general knowledge, like we're an open
lifestyle.
Yeah, and people need to. It's not a quick fix.
No, it's not.
So, even though we wish it was.
Yeah.
I kind of got one out of left field here for you that I'm gonna see how you handle. So Mike Tyson, Jake Paul are fighting on November 15th. It's an exhibition fight. I'm wondering your opinion on that. I'm actually excited to see Mike Tyson come back, but I'm curious to your opinion on these exhibition fights.
Let's just say I won't be watching it. If that gives me my opinion on it. Yeah.
You want to spotlight the athletes that are the true professionals.
The true professionals, not even that, because Mike Tyson obviously has his own, he's fantastic, but yeah, it's just, a lot of it's about money. Well, it is about money. And I'm just like, I don't know. There's a lot of other things that could be. So I won't be watching it. That's my opinion. I honestly didn't even know what was going on. That's how much I don't care about those types of events.
Fair enough.
If that's enough saying enough within itself.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
So just one last thing from Meighen here. Tell us where you're located. Let us know how people can find you.
Yeah, sure. We're located at 16 McPherson Drive in Napanee. We are right in the arena. So going through the doors, and we're on the left side.
And it's no longer Strathcona Paper Center, right?
No,
What's it
it's
called?
the Best in Bash Arena. They're a new development coming to Napanee, like a new housing development.
That's awesome. We'll talk more about that on the next pod.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, we're at the Best in Bash Arena, and we also have a weight room, which a lot of people don't know about. So people can come in and work out on their own. We're the only gym in Napanee that has a squat rack, like Olympic bar. So if people want to get Olympic bar lifting, which is very popular, we have that available. We've got cardio machines, Smith machines, universals, all that, and then we've got the sweet boxing ring and all the heavy bags up. So it's a great space. If you want to come sign up, you can visit our website or send us a message on Facebook or Instagram, and we can get you set up for a free trial class. And we have a lot of programs for beginners, but also advanced as well. And again, starting kids at age 5, we start a program.
That's awesome. No, it's a pleasure having you on, and I'm glad you hit the kids in there too, because sometimes it's pretty hard for parents that have young kids. I'm like, well, what are you going to do with the kids? Well, the kids can train too, right? And get their bodies moving. So I think that's a win-win for parents if they can, the whole family can go. And what do they say? If the family sweats together, it stays together, right?
Together, that's right. Plus, our summer camp programs will be starting up. We run PA days and summer camp programs, which is a huge success within our community. Giving the kids something to do during the summer is great for them. And then, like you said, Danny, just having the classes at the same time so that the parents can come and work out is huge, because the parents don't have time. They've got lots going on within their, as you know, there's a lot going on. So giving them no excuses to not train is kind of my.
And you know what? I feel like 80 to 90% of a workout is actually just getting yourself in there.
Right.
It is the hardest part.
Then it is. And then we can take it from there. And that's easy. Yeah.
You just got to get your gym equipment on and just get there. And then the rest take care of itself. And you actually feel so much better after. But it's just getting there.
Let me know if you have any tips on getting parents to get active, because sometimes they'd rather just sit in their car on their phone for the 45-minute class versus working out. Yeah. And I'm just like, you can only say so much, but it's like, I understand that parents need their quiet time, but I think that exercise is probably more important than their quiet time. They might not see it now, but it's definitely important.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, as a parent, what is your insight on that? Because I would love to know.
No, honestly, it's you just have to do it because there's no other time, right? So you just have to do it. I think for me, when I'm working out now, it's more for the mental health.
Right.
So it's the endorphins that go off in your body and in your brain that I need it. Those, what do they call it? Endotoxins and endorphins. So it's mental health as much as it is for the body.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And a lot of members from the gym that I have are coming like just for their mental health. Yeah. And they just need to, again, those hormones and being released, and then just hitting a bag is fun.
Yeah.
Some aggression, like it is a fun workout. Get your aggression out, and then you feel so much better after.
For sure.
The only complaint I have from members is, I should have started sooner.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's perfect. Well, we'll end the podcast with that one, because that's
Danny and I really want to thank Meighen Hodgen for joining us on the PPP podcast today. He's Danny Taylor. I'm Mark Strachan. If you made it to the end, we would really like it if you would like, comment, subscribe, or if you're a local business owner or involved in real estate in any way in the Kingston and area market, we'd love to have you on as a guest. That is the end of episode 5